I stole a cab ride and ran off without ever paying the driver. Now, hear me out. This was back when I was a freshman in college, up in Northern California, when I'd lived in Southern California my whole life until that point. I had taken city transit to the mall, where I applied for jobs at several retail outlets. I didn't have a car yet. Well, you can guess where this goes. By the time my final job interview ended, the mall was getting ready to close up. I believe it must have been right around 7, and I went across the parking lot for some dinner at Taco Bell. First mistake. Well, after eating, I looked at the bus route catalog, only to realize that, gasp, the last bus for the day had already picked up people from the mall stop. This was almost 15 years ago now. Yeesh, crazy to consider that. Back when cell phones were more or less in their infancy, and I believe mine didn't have internet on it. Regardless, it died on me mere moments after I was figuring out who I should call, and so I was forced to use the payphone just outside of Taco Bell. Thankfully, I still had a couple quarters from a laundry run that afternoon. A local cab company had posted a sticker with its phone number on the payphone unit, and so I called the number, gave the guy on the other line my location, and waited for a pickup. This was a long time ago, and I don't remember everything. What I do remember is how nice the guy who picked me up was, and that he was playing The Gorillaz on the radio. I also recall thinking to myself, please stop talking to me, be mean or something, so that I wouldn't feel like such a schmuck for what I knew I was going to do when he dropped me off. Now, though I was still wet behind the ears, I had some street smarts. There was no way I was going to give him the address to my dorms, and so instead, I directed him to a frat house about a mile from the dormitories. I don't remember how I gave him the address, or even how I knew it. I believe I just randomly said an address number for a street I was familiar with. As soon as Dude stopped the car, I told him I had to go inside to get the money from my mom. That may sound silly now, but at the time, not every transaction was expected to be done through credit card or Apple Pay. He acknowledged me, and before I had time to read his reaction to my bullshit further, I opened the door to see a big ass party going on. Yeah, like my mom was really in there. Realizing how obvious it was becoming that I was full of it, I didn't waste any more time. I straight booked it. I ran down the sidewalk towards a back alley, heading the opposite direction that the cab was faced, hoping the chaos would shield me from the cab driver having sight on where I was headed, as he'd have to spin the car around and still keep track of me among all the partygoers, goofing off and drinking in the front yard. The cab did follow me, but because there were several other parties going on at the block, and the alley I ran into served as the backyard driveway area for many of the houses there, I was able to tuck myself behind a car and eventually watch the cab pass. Several minutes later, good gosh, I was scared as shit, but I was able to slink and maneuver my way out of the area and then take the bike path back towards my dormitories. I never saw the cab driver again. After all these years, I don't think he'll ever get his $48.75. But man, those were some great Gorillaz songs.